Namaste. Welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity Yoga. I am so glad to be back. I have really been neglecting my practice, neglecting these little things I do for me, I guess. I often wonder why I come here to do these videos and put these imperfect images of myself and what I'm saying up for everyone to see, should they come across it. But I know I'm doing it for the greater part of myself. There's a lot of growth in this exercise for this thing that I call the thing beyond what I call I me, I guess. The part of me that's a little deeper and higher is wishing to do this because it's helping the me to get out of the way, I guess, so that I can expand and grow as a human being. So I learn from everything I say here. I loved the idea of doing it for others, and I do hope that it does expand out there and help somebody else. Of course, that is my intention. But is it my secondary or primary intention? I don't know, because I do know that I would be doing this even if I knew that there was not one other person listening to this other than me as I reflect back on what I've just accomplished, or I shouldn't say word accomplished, what I just created. So regardless of that, I do hope that you are getting there, that you are listening to this, that these messages, which have so little to do with me, this human that I am, but that come through this human that I am, like that come through you, if you were open, I'm sure, and you are open, I'm sure, in many ways, that these messages can come through. I just hope that they do reach you and that they resonate in you. You say yes, because they're hitting something you already know within you, a truth or whatever that you already know within you. And that's all these messages do for me. They hit what I already know within me, you know? So it's for that reason that I come here and expose myself in this very strange way, as people would say. So regardless, we're going to continue answering questions from the jar. I try to answer a question, the question that people have actually asked me, a question that I've heard asked to other people, a question that I've asked myself, or questions that I found on the net. You know, I do cheat sometimes too and pull out questions. But a lot of these questions were asked to me, so it is my goal to answer them for other individuals who have asked the questions as well. So I set the timer. I'm going to pull out a question first, have a brief look at it to make sure that I can read the writing. This is a tough one because I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer this right off the top of my head. I'm going to start my timer. Take a deep breath and exhale. Okay. The question is kind of appropriate for certain things that I'm experiencing in my own personal life right now. In order to have forgiveness, you have to have judged. Explain. In order to have forgiveness, you have to have judged. Wow, that is a hard one to answer in many ways. We have to first of all understand what forgiveness is, and then we have to understand what judgment is. So let's start with the word judgment. What is judgment? Of course, people often term judgment in a very negative light, and I tend to do it too. I say, don't judge me, or you're judging me, or you're making opinions and assumptions about me based on what you're seeing or what you're observing or experiencing with me. That's a judgment. So we can judge people as, and how do we tend to judge people or judge things in life? We tend to judge them as pleasant or unpleasant. We tend to judge them as right or wrong, good or bad, should be or shouldn't be. Or, you know what I mean? Like that we tend to take it into the dichotomy of dualistic thinking. One side is good, one side is bad, one side is right, one side is wrong, one side should be, it's something that we deem that should be happening, and the other side we say should not be happening. That's judgment, and we all have a tendency to make these opinions and to sit in the seat of judgment and look about us and say that what that person did was right, or that person did was wrong, or that person did was a sin, or that person did was a blessing to somebody else. So we do make our judgments. We take the role of what we consider God to be, this judging, wrathful being. You know, we tend to personify God in that way, many of us, because of our religious and societal upbringings, as this wrathful God that judges. And sometimes as a human being, we think it is our job to take on his role and judge the other human beings around us so that they get the adequate punishment they need or the adequate consequences for their actions that they need. But judging now doesn't always have to be that harsh. You could just simply be looking at something and saying, I don't like that dress. And I don't like that dress on that person. Or I don't like her voice. I don't like the way she talks. Or I don't like how he's handling his dog. Or that's wrong, the way he's handling his dog, etc. So we're making judgments on a daily basis, maybe several hundred judgments a day, without noticing that we're making judgments. Judgments that not only are regarding things, but that can be regarding people. And every time we put a thought out there or spend energy or, our words especially out there, we are causing a ripple effect in the, I want to call it the karmic field. We are, there's always a ripple effect to everything we do. So if I may judge somebody as, say, being, and this is a situation I'm dealing with, a bad father because of a past mistake. And if I judge that person as being a bad father because of a past mistake, I am, and I speak about it out loud in public or to other individuals, I'm actually defaming and hurting that individual's reputation, which can affect them, say, getting custody of their children in the long run. So it can have a very strong ripple effect if we're not careful. So we need to be very careful when it comes to judging for those reasons. But we all have a tendency to do it, to say that I judge and you don't judge, or you don't judge or I don't judge and you judge. That is, again, a judgment because it's a decision made about something that can have a ripple effect. Judging has a lot to do with our need to put things into categories so that we can understand our human experience better. This is what I want, this is what I don't want. This is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, this should be, this shouldn't be. So we know how to react or respond accordingly to those judgments. So, for example, if I said this person was bad, then I know how I have to act. If I say this person was a bad father, for example, I know how I have to act on that side. I have to make sure that I protect people involved, and so that this person doesn't get their children or doesn't get what and I can do it under the guise of protecting the individuals involved. But in reality, what we're really doing when we judge those situations is we're just putting our personal, and again, personal, circle that person and personal, labels on things, and they have nothing to do with the reality of the situation. When this questioner asks, well, what does that have to do? Why do I have to forgive? Why do I, in order to forgive somebody, I have to have judged? Well, we need to have been in the experience of judger before we can experience somebody for judging, right? We have to realize what it was like, why they judged, where they were consciously, at what level of evolution they were at when they judged, and realize that it's something we all have a tendency to do as human beings, and someone's not better for not judging than someone who judged. It's just different states of consciousness. You reach a point where you realize the fruitlessness of judging, how it gets nobody anywhere, it just causes more harm, it doesn't evolve you. It's first we judge sometimes to project our own sense of inadequacies away onto somebody else, right? It just gives us a lift or we're feeling down. Judging does that, especially when you can sit around and talk about it, It makes you feel better about yourself. And then, of course, if you're going to rescue somebody from a situation that you've judged as dangerous, then it's going to give you that savior complex emotion, right? Oh, look at me, I'm saving, I'm better than, I'm reaching in and I'm saving. It makes me even better as a human being. But in reality, that judgment is just hurting you probably more than it's hurting the other person, because the more we judge, the more we are suppressing, repressing what really needs to be dealt with. And that is our own inner sense of turmoil that we're experiencing, the mess we created inside. So judging just kind of adds on top of that, just puts another layer on top of all that and squishes everything down. Forgiveness, however, is a totally different aspect than judging. Forgiveness, in the truest sense of the word, is being able to look at something And not say, oh, I forgive you because I'm better than you and I'm more morally evolved than you, and, I forgive you because, I see you down here and I'm up here. It has nothing to do with forgiveness. Forgiveness is being able to say, I completely understand where you are because I was there. I was there. Or maybe I am still there and I'm doing the exact same thing. So true forgiveness is this ability to look within ourselves and realize that most of the stuff that we're judging other people for is a projection of what we have inside. And to be able to look in at those samskaras and start working on them and stop pushing all the judgments on top of them, realizing the fruitlessness of judgment, and to simply say, I was there, I understand. This is all part of the human experience. I was there, I'm starting to evolve away from that now, but I was there. I was a big judger at one time, but now I realize the error of judging, and I'm trying not to judge people. We say that to the person that's judging. We can actually feel it. So in order to forgive that person for judging, and there's a wonderful poem out there by Auden called The Crooked Heart, from the Crooked, I love the crooked. I love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart. It's seeing that you are no less crooked than the other individual, and crooked is a strong word to use, but I'm just using that was the poetic term he used. I'm no less evolved or no better than the other individual. I just learned something. I realized that judging is not effective in creating better humans, creating a better human society, creating a better world. It's probably self-destructive as well as other destructive. So I'm doing my best not to judge now. And so that is true forgiveness. I'm looking at my own judgments of the past. I'm forgiving myself for judging. I'm seeing the error of my ways. And I'm looking at the other individual without judgment. So I'm not judging them for judging when I truly forgive. I'm just realizing that they are somewhere where I used to be, and I can completely empathize and understand with where they're at. But for the grace of God go I. With the little grace of God, I kind of realize the error of judgment, so I'm trying to steer away. Not that I have, I still judge, but I'm steering away from it. So when I look at this individual, I'm not looking at them as with judging eyes. I'm looking at them with truly forgiving eyes. And I personally have a long way to go with that, but that is the ultimate ideal way of looking at judgment and forgiveness. So we really cannot forgive unless we know that we've judged. Right? So it's all two different dimensions of the human heart, two different dimensions of the human experience, or two sides of the human experience, and we're going to flounder from one side to the other, bounce around from one side to the other until we reach that state of equanimity in the middle, where we can realize that I don't need to judge. And then, when we get to that true state of equanimity, we don't even need to forgive because there's nothing to forgive, right? All just a play of life, a play of the amazing drama we get to be a part of. Well, anyway, I am hoping that makes sense. I want to thank you again for joining me, and it is so good to be back. Thank you. Namaste.